can watch them later. Okay, hello. So, Long is our new friend today from Vietnam and not using a mic, so Long will not be talking. And so, yeah, so we record these and we're recording now. And so you can watch these on the website on YouTube later as well, and all the other classes that we've done. Today, we're going to be discussing severe weather. So not just it's sunny, it's raining, it's cloudy, which is the basic things. We're going to focus on a little bit of vocabulary today. So let me think. Today outside, anything really different? I mean, it's warm. It's not hot and it's not cold. It's not raining. It's sunny. There are some clouds. So it's a mix of everything, but very simple. Vocabulary. There's nothing that it's, I think yesterday, maybe not yesterday, maybe a couple days ago, it was freezing cold. It was very, very cold. So things like that. Ken, how's Japan today?
Yes, cold wave was over, so it is rainy, but yes, especially yesterday afternoon, I felt somewhat spring breeze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but it's still January. Cold wave, yeah, will return sooner or later. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, I know it's a little bit warm and then it's cold again, and it's a little bit warm and then it's cold again.
I think that's the reason why, the Lunar New Year is called Spring Festival in Asia. Because the solar calendar, January 1st, is still mid in winter time. No kind of feeling, but this maybe lunar calendar, maybe. I'm not sure the exact date this year, but this season people sometimes feels, new spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I can understand. I don't know from a personal experience, but good. So perfect. Okay, good. So long as it's cloudy and a little cold. Okay, so nothing too extreme unless it's very cloudy or very cold or anything. So that's okay. I mean, your weather is kind of nice. So what we'll do is I'm just going to make sure this is on the first original page. And so now I'm going to screen share. Or not. 1 second. It's always something with technology. Slide 1. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Okay, good. So severe weather. So the words in bold, we're going to try and work out the meanings first. So Ken, you're going to be reading today quite a bit. Oops. If I don't go too far down.
Okay.
Okay, good. Why don't you just read the first sentence, okay?
Okay. Look at the collocations in bold and try and work out their meaning from context.
Yep, those are the directions. Go ahead and read the first sentence.
Sorry, this is not a sentence. Okay. The city of Cadiz had abnormally high tides last night, with water reaching the buildings on all 3 of the beaches.
Okay, good. So first, do you know where Cadiz is? In what country?
Cadiz. I don't know. Cadiz. Caribbean country? I don't know.
Well, I know there's one here in Spain, and it's only about 3 hours away from me.
Okay.
So that's it. But actually, a lot of the South American countries, including Mexico and, the Caribbean, have the same names. I know Mérida is one that is in Mexico, and here Cartagena is in, I want to say Colombia. Don't be offended if I'm wrong. And one here in Spain as well. So they share a lot of names. So I don't know if there's actually one in a different part of the world, but I know there's one here in Spain. So Very good. So high tides is what we're going to be focusing on in this sentence. Do you have any idea what that means?
High tide is an unusually high wave. It's dangerous actually at the beach.
Okay. Yes, I don't know if it's exactly a wave. It's actually like this level of the water where it is. And so when it's a high tide, I mean that happens because I think it's the moon, if I'm not wrong. And the
Maybe yes, but,
something with that
abnormally caused by typhoon or such extreme weather.
could be, well,
Abnormal.
tides. I mean, every day there's a high tide and a low tide. And so
Right.
when it's a high tide, there's a lot of water, and when there's a low tide, there's not a lot. And I think it happens every day.
Yes.
I've never lived near a beach or anything, so but technically it's not the actual wave part is what I'm
Okay.
trying to
Right.
understand.
Wave part
Uh,
could be called tsunami. Yes. Tidal wave.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. So
Then
the waves are the water that moves.
足音か。
And the
That,
tide.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, but the Japanese, are very familiar with that. We have word two meanings: high wave and high, as you explained. But I don't know the English definition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, a tide is more of just the level,
Okay.
the general level. The waves make it move, I guess you could say. It's different. It's more of the sea level at that point. Um,
Maybe high
so
wave in English, probably for
for high
capture
tide,
high tide and high wave.
well, there's differences. High waves are good for surfers.
Oh my God, star surfing term. Okay.
And a high tide, the high tide is, like I said, I don't really know the technicalities, but I think it's something to do with the moon. And
Yes.
I think
Right.
maybe during the day there's a high tide, and at night there's a low tide, so the water kind of goes back. And
Yes.
so there's a big difference between the actual depth of the sea or the whatever it is,
Because
or the ocean, versus the waves.
because of the gravity of the moon.
Hmm.
The height level changes. Yes.
Exactly, and that's what we're talking about with the tide. The waves are the part that moves, and that's what I said is good for surfers. Because the tide, if it's low or high, I don't think it really matters unless it's super low and they can't surf. So, okay. What about any other questions? And Long, if you have any questions, please feel free to write in the chat box about vocabulary words, or anything that you're not sure of. Okay, that's not a problem. I'll try and be more attentive, pay more attention to the chat box today. And now any questions? What about the word reaching? It says with the water reaching the buildings. What's reaching? And Long, you can also answer this in the chat box if you want. Ken, do you have any idea?
Reaching in other word, maybe come up, to come up.
Okay, yeah, that could be true. Or I'm trying to think, and it's easy for me to just translate into Spanish at this point, but that's not going to help us. So basically, the water got to the
Gotcha.
buildings. Mm-hmm. Arrive really isn't the correct word, but it gives you the idea. Okay. All right, and then all the three beaches. So I think that's it. I don't have any other questions here for this. So Ken, would you like to read the second sentence?
There was a severe weather warning last month due to the amount of rainfall and likelihood of a torrential downpour.
Okay, so we have two phrases because they're more than just one word. So two phrases in this sentence. So there was a severe weather warning. What does that mean? A warning.
Caution.
Okay, good. Yeah, so they can say, hey, um, there's going to be a lot of rain tomorrow, for example. So I'm just telling you now, I'm warning you. And then what about torrential downpour?
Downpour is maybe hard rain, like, hard rain, intensive rain.
Mm-hmm.
Torrential, I don't know, torrential.
Well, I'm definitely going to agree with your downpour. Actually, down is, to go from, let's say, up to down. And pour actually can mean like when you pour water into your glass. And so it's kind of referring to that, there's a lot going down, and torrential just means heavy.
Oh, I see.
So heavy, a lot of rain, basically, which doesn't make sense in English as far as grammar, but just so that we understand the idea is that torrential rain and torrential downpour could be a little different. When it's a downpour, it's really, really raining a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any questions or comments? No? Okay. Let's see. Well, what about the word rainfall? It says due to the amount of rainfall.
The amount of rain fell.
Yes, it's the amount of rain that fell in a time period. And so this is a noun, which rainfall is, the quantity of water.
Mm-hmm.
So they might say, oh, it rained. Oh, gosh. And now I don't know if I should use liters or gallons or ounces. I don't know. But the quantity of rain, okay, is the rainfall. And what about the word likelihood?
Maybe likewise. Likewise, like.
Not exactly. Long, do you have any comments? Yeah, Ken?
Likewise.
Don't look online. I can hear you clicking. Okay, Long, you don't know that. So. I have some really good headphones, so and you must have a good mic. So no, likelihood is like the possibility. And so you can say due to the amount of rainfall and possibility of a torrential downpour. So likelihood, I think a good synonym would be possibility. Okay. And Long, that's perfectly fine if you don't know. Not a problem. All right, good. Anything here? Any other questions? And severe weather is obviously what we're talking about. Severe just means intense, I think, would be a good word there. So not just like I said earlier, just, oh, it's cloudy, it's raining, it's sunny, things like that. But this is more intense. Why don't you read the next sentence, okay?
Okay. The choppy seas prevent the guys from surfing.
Choppy seas. Any idea?
If I say the word, the voice is choppy on the internet, which means my voice is breaking. Oh, maybe rough sea, rough sea or something.
Yep, I actually would agree with that. Yeah, you can say the water is very rough. Choppy is basically waves. If you, not smooth and beautiful waves, but maybe when there's a storm and it's very windy and the waves are all over the place. So they're very uncontrollable, I think you could say. And so, yeah, so the water is rough. And so they can't surf. And you know that people who surf use the waves. That's literally how they surf. And so if the water is that bad that they can't surf, it's not good.
Yeah.
Okay. Preventing the guys. Guys. Oh, Ken, do you remember the female version for guys? Guys is for men, obviously, and the one for women? Ooh.
I think nowadays people say guys for women's too. But
They do what they shouldn't because technically that's what is it? Chauvinistic behavior, which means men
yeah,
think they're better. You know what I mean?
sometimes people say girls, but one British teacher criticized girl is not good word for girls. So
Right.
I don't know because I talked with maybe 12
Mm-hmm.
the 12 or such age girl, and gap between that girl and that woman and me are huge. So
Mm-hmm.
chose that word, but she said, "Oh, it's not good." So I don't know. How can I say?
Yeah, no, I know
Instead,
what you're talking about. In the chat box, I've been writing some things. For example, we have boys and girls, men and women, ladies and gentlemen. So we have words that kind of, we wouldn't say ladies and men. We would always say ladies and gentlemen. And so they go together, but they're obviously opposite. Now, if we have guys, why is my computer doing something strange? And gals, Gals, gals is the female version of guys.
so girls. So yeah, I wanted to say so, but that criticism stopped me to say so because if I say girl for maybe the age under more than 12 or so, she could that. So maybe she
Well,
does more than my age or something. I don't know. But yeah, she criticized a lot about men. My
yeah,
husband said the same thing. He said girls for women. Such criticism I got.
right. Um,
How do you feel about this?
well, I think it depends. I'm actually writing some more words here. For example, if you have someone who's 12 and under, I would say girl is fine. Once you get to 13, it's obviously a teenager. And so you could say, oh, the teenagers are the young women, if it's plural, or young woman, if it's singular. Or you can use lady, singular, or ladies, young lady
Mhm.
for the plural form, or ladies for the plural form. So there's different things you can say. Once they're a little bit older, now I don't know what what you
Mm.
would call me. Hopefully, a young lady as well.
Maybe on the public or a very kind of formal setting, yeah, saying choosing such word is yeah important. Yes, probably.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, it depends. I think young lady, especially if you don't know the person, you can say, "Oh, excuse me, young lady," or just say, "Excuse me, do you know?" You don't have to say anything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. And here, for example, I'm married, but I didn't change my last name in like it's normal in the United States. And so, actually, last night it was, am I, Mrs. because I'm married, but am I Miss because I didn't change my last name? So quite the conversation, actually. Little confusing, but I think I'm technically considered a woman at my age. So
Mm.
um,
Mm.
let's take a look at the next sentence. What do you think?
Okay. It's nice when the sun is out and there is a slight breeze.
Do you know what a breeze is?
Breeze, kind of wind. Usually
Okay.
comfortable wind, I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah, a type of wind that's not super strong. And what about the word slight? Because that's adding emphasis here. Is it saying that it's a lot or little?
A little.
Okay, good. And also I've heard a light, a light breeze or slight. I think I would personally probably say light breeze just because that's what both of my parents say.
Mhm.
So for me, that's more normal. But a slight breeze is fine. Any other questions?
No, for me.
Okay, sounds good. Long, don't forget you're more than welcome to ask any questions. Let me go down here a little bit and I'll read this one to change things a bit. The gusty winds blew my hat off several times. So we have gusty winds. Any idea what that could mean?
It's strong. Yeah, on this context, it's strong wind.
Okay. And what is wind?
Wind is sometimes not comfortable breeze.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if we can say light winds as well.
Right.
Light winds. And we can. And so light winds maybe isn't always bad. You can say, oh, there are light winds today. There's not a lot of wind. To me, breeze is a smaller, lower intensity to wind. So first it's a breeze, and then if it's windy, there's more air there. And now gusty does mean intense, but it also means that it comes and goes. Okay, so it's not just one continuous type of wind, but all of a sudden it's windy, in little moments like that. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so yes, it is intense, but in very short periods, we can say. Okay?
Okay.
All right, good. Blew my hat off several times, I think are okay words. Long, any questions? No, okay. All right, that's fine. And I'll read this last sentence again. We are becoming more and more affected by rising sea levels. Rivers. What's going on with sea levels?
Sea level is a kind of height of water, level of water.
Yep, absolutely. So that's kind of what we were talking about before with the tide. It's talking about the sea level. So the sea level is, I would imagine the average of the high and low tide. I actually don't know. So yeah, but how, and then everything's coming to me in Spanish today, so I'm sorry. Mountain ranges, for example, are measured with sea level, 2,000 feet above sea level, for example. And so that sea level is very important when comparing other parts of the land, landscapes. I just don't even know what I'm trying to say today. So, so good. Yeah, well, in flooding rivers, I mean, I suppose those would be even some words for us today. What's flooding?
Maybe, how can I say, flood is the natural phenomenon, water covered unusual part.
Okay.
Because of the sea level or flooding rivers.
Okay.
Yeah, tsunami a bit. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Well, I think you did fine. Flooding basically just means that there's too much water. So you have too much water in a river. What's a river? How would you explain a river? Because a river is quite different from a lake, and those lake and rivers are very different from the ocean as well. Do you know the differences?
Yes, lake is isolated from the ocean. Also, water is pure, not pure, but not salty water. But ocean,
we call it fresh water in English.
Right, fresh water. Yes.
Okay, and what about a river?
River is the place the water flows from the mountainside to the ocean. So, yeah.
And what about a stream? Have you heard of that word before?
Yes, a stream is a little river.
Okay, good. So you did great with that. Lake was the thing. Do you know what a puddle is?
Paddle. A puddle is a small water pond or something after the rain on the street.
Okay. So puddle,
Okay.
yes, you're in the street. The street is not flat, and so there's some water accumulation in one spot.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a puddle. Now a pond is like in between a puddle and a lake.
Right.
A pond is a small, very small lake. Wow. So lots of vocabulary there. Okay, any questions before we go to the next slide?
No, thank you.
Okay, good. All right, so moving down here, again, you'll be able to watch. You will be able to watch this later if you need help with the reviewing, okay? So good. So now we have to put with the correct, basically, now review, how would you describe a high tide?
High tide is the ocean level becomes high because of the gravity's moon's gravity.
Yes, that is very true. What about the severe weather warning?
The caution because of this extreme weather.
Okay, yes, 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so Long, I'm going to have you describe the last three. Please describe the last three. Okay, good. So slight breeze, E to sea levels. You can go ahead and write those. And then once we finish with Ken speaking, I'll go ahead and read those as well, okay? All right, so severe weather warning, yeah. Torrential downpour, Ken.
Okay, strong rain. Hard rain.
Very good. I like that thought process there. That was good. And then finally, choppy seas.
Okay, rough sea.
Rough sea, yes. All right, good. So Long, whenever you can, we'd like to know about a slight breeze. How would you describe a slight breeze? It would be perfect to be on the beach with a slight breeze. That way it's not too hot when you're outside. Well, maybe hopefully you're typing. And so we're just gonna again look at the words gusty winds and sea levels. So good. So Ken, did you learn some more vocabulary? We'll just chat while Long is hopefully writing to us. Oh, really hard to describe. Yeah. Well, yes. Well, a breeze is similar to something. So you can kind of compare it with that if you want. It is hard to describe. I definitely understand. Again, as the native, I have the advantage here today. So, well, if you want, I'm sure Ken would love to help you out here. Right, Ken?
Yes, if Lynn want to.
Okay. Long, do you want Ken to, I think a slight breeze and gusty winds, the same meaning. Okay, well, I'm going to say they're actually the opposite. So a slight breeze, Ken, what would you say that is?
A slight breeze, a weak wind.
Okay, weak wind. That's perfect. I love your definitions today. Synonyms, whatever you want to call them. What about gusty winds then?
Strong breeze.
Okay, yeah. How would we a
But strong
wind?
is better, as you explained.
Yeah, it's kind of like it comes and goes. So it's, I mean, gusty says it all. Gusty is, we understand that it comes and it goes. And so inconsistent strong wind. Maybe that would work, I think. We'll say it does. And then the sea level is how high or how deep, it depends on what you want to say, the level of the sea is in this case. It could be an ocean level. Actually, we use sea level for like everything, I think. I don't think we really measure lakes with sea level, but that's a good question. All right. Well, perfect. Well, why don't we continue on here to the next slide? 1 second. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to do the opposite. All right, so severe weather collocations quiz. Okay, what's a quiz?
Quiz is a kind of game. Game of problems or problems.
Okay, sure.
For the fun time, entertainment. Sometimes it's used for the drill in the drill practice.
Yes, sometimes. Because I had some quizzes and they weren't very fun. A quiz is kind of like a test, but it doesn't have as many points, for example. Like a test is a lot more important than a quiz. So a quiz to me is like a little test.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So good. And yes, of course, we have quiz shows or game shows, things that we can, ask questions and it's fun. So a little bit of everything here. So number 1 says, when water is rough, which vocabulary word or phrase are we looking for? Long, you're more than welcome to write in the chat box if you remember. You can put the number and then the answer if you want. Ken, do you have any idea?
Yeah, and choppy.
Choppy. There was another word.
Maybe choppy is rough.
But there were 2 words. Oops, and look, I've passed it. That always happens. Choppy.
Which means high tide is also the rough. See?
Whoa. 1 second.
Okay.
When the water is rough. When the water is rough, it's just choppy. It's choppy seas. Okay? Okay, good. So now in number 2, it says, when there are alerts because the weather is going to be dangerous. Let's see here. Let's try not to go up too far.
Severe weather warning.
Exactly. Severe weather warnings. So they're saying the alerts, when they're like beep, 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 on TV when it's bad. Okay, number 3 says when rain is extremely severe.
Torrential downpour.
Exactly. There's a ton of water coming down. And what's the expression? Do you remember the idiom in English that means the same thing?
Cats and dog rains cat to rain cats and dog.
Exactly. Yeah. Normally, I mean, it depends on the context. If it were in the moment, we could say it's raining. Oops. Cats and dogs.
That idiom is a bit old-fashioned. Is it true?
Well, because I don't live in the United States anymore, it's a little difficult for me to say what's normal and what's not normal. But I mean, if you say it, everyone's going to understand. As far as being the older generation, you might be right. Because my dad would say this, but I don't know if my brother would, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're kind of right with that.
English is spoken in large areas, so sometimes, feeling of English are somewhat different, actually.
Absolutely. All right, well, good. Well, let's look at number 4, when there is a little bit of wind.
Slight breeze.
All right, exactly. Slight breeze is their answer here, which is nice. All right, and let's not go down too far. And strong winds are?
Gusty wind.
Yes, gusty. 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 So that's perfect. Moving on. Okay, talking points. So again, Long, if you want to pick any of these questions, you can put the number and then you can write about it, okay? As for now, I'm going to say, have you ever been caught in a storm with gusty winds? Yes, I have. It's not fun. It's happened when I was driving at times. So yeah, it was not good. I actually think I drove through a tornado. Not actually through the tornado, but there was a tornado.
Oh.
So, yep, very windy. Ken, what about you? In Japan or even in the United States?
Yeah, kind of every summer typhoon hits Japan, so strong, yeah, strong wind is a kind of, yeah. I drove through the strong wind, walk through the strong winds, but it's better if it is possible to remain indoor in typhoon day, actually. Yeah.
Well, so, okay, you only have one per year or you have multiple per year?
Multiple maybe from June to August.
Yeah. Okay. You have a lot of severe weather in Japan.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, how can you live with the snow in Wisconsin? If you're raised in a certain area, it's normal. And people are like, well, if you live in an area where there's earthquakes or the tornado belt in the United States, how can you live there? It's like, well, if you choose anywhere in the United States, you're going to have some natural disaster. So you just have to depend, it just depends on which natural disaster you're able to live with. That's all. So yeah. It's Mother Nature is quite dangerous, so you have to be careful and respect. Good. Any other questions or comments, Ken? You probably have the most to say about severe weather, so.
I don't know because I've experienced very small tornado in the park. So
Okay.
even though it was small, I was scared actually, yes.
Okay. Well, I think anyone would be. I've seen them from afar. Tornadoes in Wisconsin, we actually get some tornadoes every year, and I have to say I'm okay without tornadoes nowadays. And here in Spain, natural disasters. Really not too many here.
It seems like that, yes. Mediterranean areas, yeah, like mild weather pattern.
It is, definitely. Good. Why don't you read question number 2, Ken, okay?
Okay. Has a severe weather warning ever been issued where you live? If so, why? The answer this question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes, typhoon warning often happens. Yeah. Also, flood warning or landslide warning is common in many parts of Japan, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, are your houses prepared in a certain way, or do you just kind of, we'll see what happens?
Maybe we see how my house is a bit high, not a hill, but it's a bit high place. Not close to the cliff. So wait and see. But kind of my town or my community, gave the information if the extreme thing happened, kind of how can I say center of people can evacuate it to.
Okay. Well, good. And also here in Spain, I think weather warnings. I think for flooding, not exactly here where I live, but on the coast. Because I live in the mountains, so flooding here is quite difficult. I'm trying to think. It snowed last year. I don't remember if there were like alerts or anything like that. For the heat, I'm sure there's been some warnings and probably rain because being in the mountains, if it rains too much, then rocks fall and people can't pass through. So with their cars.
Mm.
So good. And Long, if you want to answer, you can. If not, that's fine too. Number 3, what are the coldest and hottest temperatures you've ever experienced and where? Are you thinking, Ken?
Okay. Yes. I think here and hottest temperature I've experienced here is 37.5 Celsius.
Okay.
At that
That's
day,
it?
I felt, yeah, that day I felt, wow, everything I touched is hot, warm. And then video said temperature low, such temperature. It was the record high temperature at that day in Japan. So I thought, wow. And then coldest temperature I've experienced, -3 probably Celsius.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to say those are pretty normal.
Yes. In in Wisconsin, yeah, in
Yeah,
your home
Wisconsin's. I mean, we can
country.
get in Wisconsin. We've had anything from -40. I mean, even with the wind chill in. I'm trying to think. That could be in Celsius. The other, I mean, a couple of weeks ago it was -21, where I'm from, and that's not with the wind chill, and so that's the actual temperature, but it's not what it feels like. And so, I mean, you can only imagine how cold that is. Um, and then as far as heat, even in Wisconsin, we can get over 40 degrees.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I mean, so Wisconsin has a lot, like there's a huge range in temperatures. And here in Spain, I think I've experienced over 40 degrees as well. And the coldest here is probably close to -3, like you said. It's really not, I mean, it's
Mm.
cold, but it's not cold like like Wisconsin. So,
I see.
hmm interesting. All right, well, good. And then why don't you read question 4, Ken? Okay.
Okay. Have you ever tried to swim in choppy seas?
Do you want to
Mm.
answer that?
No, it's dangerous.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I wouldn't either. I don't think I ever have. Yeah, I don't think I ever have.
But I've heard the news, some surfer dare to surf in the choppy seas, like typhoon days, because they need high wave.
Wow.
And then some of them are was rescued. So maybe I read the news about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Quite troublesome actually for rescuer
Mm-hmm.
or the persons too, because rescuer have to rescue their people, you
Mm-hmm.
know, with a lot of risks actually.
Exactly. And sometimes it's just, maybe someone is drowning, they're struggling trying to swim and they can't get out. And the person who's going to save them has to say, okay, this is too dangerous for me. I can't. There's nothing we can do because there's a high possibility that I'm also going to lose my life. And so,
Mm.
do you lose one life or two? Is
Right.
really what it comes down to. And it's very serious and it has to be very difficult. Um, so yeah, don't want to imagine that kind of situation. And yeah, so choppy seas. No, I've never swum in choppy seas before. So yeah, you said too dangerous. And as we said, it's too because it's dangerous for not only the person who's swimming or trying to swim, but for the rescuer as well.
How to swim in the pool and how to swim in the ocean is quite different. Even though you can swim in
Absolutely.
the pool, yeah, no, yes, yes.
Well, and even for me, I think in October, I had gone to the province of Cadiz, not the actual capital. There's a difference. It's kind of like the counties in the United States, like you have the actual state, and then the state is divided into smaller areas called counties, and within those counties, you have different cities. And so here, it would be about the same thing. It's also called provinces, but they have many different cities within it. And so I was in the province of Cadiz in October at the very beginning, and we were in the ocean on Friday, and it was beautiful. It was perfect. And then the next day we went, and there were huge waves. And so, I went out there, my husband and I were jumping and, jumping over the waves and everything, and it was fun until the water pulled me underwater and I was like, where am I? Where's up? And so that scared me a bit, obviously. Happened to me when I was vacationing in Florida when I was 10, the first time I touched the ocean and salt water for the first time. Pretty scary, and you think, but it was nothing. It was just a tiny little bit. But it's absolutely scary. So weather it's quite dangerous. The water and wind and everything. So
swimming is fun, and ocean is playing in at the beach is fun, but yeah, people don't try not to forget about the risk about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. We have to respect Mother Nature and everything that she's capable of. So you have to just be careful and have fun, and that's it. So
Right.
good. Well, hopefully there's no severe weather anytime soon anywhere. Looks like the sun's kind of going down. We should have about 3 more hours of sunlight, hopefully. So very good. Well, I just want to comment about our next class. Monday, adverbs of frequency. Okay. So we'll be looking at those, always, sometimes, never. And there's some adverb of frequency phrases that we'll be taking a look at as well. All right. So any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Well, Long, thanks for joining us today. Good, no questions. I like that. Have a great day. And Ken, nice seeing you as always. And hopefully we'll see you on Monday.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day too.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.